So, um, welcome again to another podcast. Today, I want to talk about a podcast, and our main point of contention and the main place where we're going to focus on is the Premier League clash between Chelsea and Brighton, as well as we're going to do a precursor on the Manchester Derby. So, we have some very incredible news that I want to share with you. It's actually been now 3 years since I started running this channel, and we actually had our 3 year anniversary. I think last week, this week, somewhere this week. This week around on Thursday. So, but what I want to focus on today is I'm going to talk about the situation at Chelsea. So, yesterday, Chelsea went away for a West London derby against Brentford. The game itself was not well coordinated because actually Chelsea managed to lose. It was actually a loss. The draw came in as a loss. So Chelsea in the first half played quite well. Their football was quite great. The surprise tactical change was not expected by Brentford. Chelsea decided to match Brentford man to man, going with a 3-5-2. But in some instances in the first half, it looked like Pochettino was actually playing Levi Colwill as a he was playing Colwill as a left back. And this was creating a lot of problems for Chelsea because we started to see Chilwell playing further forward as a left winger while Colwill was playing further back as a left back. During throw-ins, you started to see Chilwell handing over the throwing duties to Levi Colwill. But what struck me yesterday is the performance in the second half. This is another time that we are coming out of a match to make our complaints about the performance after the halftime break. So during the first half, Chelsea dominated possession quite well. Chelsea were playing beautiful football. The pressing was on point. The stopping of counter attacks, especially from players such as Ivan Toney and Wissa, it was quite great. Neil Mope did not manage to start. But we started to see some things crippling into Chelsea. And these are things that we have actually seen throughout the season. These are not things that are happening for the first time in this football club. They're things that we have started to see crippling in. When players go for halftime breaks, they come back from the halftime breaks looking defeated. We don't see the vigor, the energy, the game plan that they actually employed in the first half. Actually, funny enough, majority of people have realized that Chelsea have a very good record in the first half. If it was in the first, Chelsea relied on their first half performances throughout the season, the Chelsea should have actually challenged for the title going by first half performances. But in the second half, I don't know what Pochettino talks about during the halftime break, but the players usually come out like they are clueless. It's like two different teams. In the first half, you see a different side of Chelsea. You see a Chelsea that is more that is more pressing well, that is passing the ball well, that is creating chances well. But in the second half, you usually see a different form of Chelsea, a Chelsea that is quite passive, a Chelsea that is quite scared. It's like the manager tells them, just go to the second half, try and hold yourself up, try to contain yourself, and then let's see what the opposition are trying to do to counter our gaming tactic. And this is a pragmatic approach in football. Chelsea should be coming out in the second half with the same vigor that they played in the first half. In the game against Manchester City, we saw this. In the first half, Chelsea had a solid structure, a solid counter-attacking system, and a solid way to progress from the defensive side of the game to the attacking side of the game. But when we looked at the performances that Chelsea put up in the second half, they were much more passive, they were much more reserved, and they did not actually want to come out from their defensive third to try at least and come out and try to attack. Now, the game yesterday, a lot of people are saying that it is just a draw. A lot of you have really attacked me and questioned my loyalty. Some people have actually said that I'm too negative when I'm trying to analyze Chelsea games. I do not like to look at the positive side of the game. So Did you see any positivity in the game? Okay, there's some positivity in the game that I definitely have to talk about, but majority of the game we did not see the positivity. And questions are now being asked. People are now shifting to blame the manager. And now the thing that even excites me about the fans, especially the away fans, is now they are now trying to go at the board. You can now hear the fans chanting the C word at Todd Bowley, and you can see them chanting the F word at Mauricio Pochettino, the F word, F Mauricio Pochettino. We cannot say that in our stream because you know very well YouTube policies with regards to uttering some other words in YouTube. So, first thing that I have to talk about is the in-depth game management strategy that Pochettino employs in the game. Is this a game management strategy that is effective for the team? Are the players managing the game perfectly, or whatever we are seeing is just what Chelsea are? Is this now the Chelsea that we are supposed to be contended with? Is this the kind of shit show that players are contended with? Now, the question that a lot of you want me to talk about is the overall performances. So, generally, the performance was not great, and Chelsea actually had to scramble for a draw in the latter stages of the game. This is because Chelsea had to try to look for a way to try and get something out of the game. And that's why I was not comfortable going into the halftime break with a 1-0 lead, because 5 minutes after the halftime, they already equalized. And this was a defensive disaster class from Disasi, a player who has been praised for his performance against Haaland at Manchester City and his performance against Liverpool in the Carabao Cup final majority of the game. But this game, he actually created the first mistake that made Chelsea to go level in this game. And these are some of the mistakes that you cannot continue to perpetuate in a big club. Now, another thing that I wanted to talk about in this game, I wanted to talk about the positives. I wanted to talk about the players who came out to be very positive signings and created a positive impression for Chelsea in this game. And this was players such as Malo Gusto. Malo Gusto, again, is creating a case for himself as being one of the most improved players at Chelsea. Not just improved, but one of the most talented players at Chelsea. He has taken up Reece James' right back position quite well. He's good defensive wise. He just lacks some bit of strength, which he can acquire. He's just 20 years old, so he can build up his muscles and his strength to become one of the best right backs. And if Gusto can manage to not be quite injury prone as Reece James, he's good. His passing is good. His dribbling is good. One underrated skill that Gusto has that majority of people don't realize is that Gusto has the ability to dribble past tight spaces. He's a fullback. When you give the ball, you expect him to carry the ball and progress it forward or play the ball inwards. But when you look at the other side, whenever Chilwell is given the ball, even if there's a player making a run, you'll just see Chilwell pass the ball backwards. And it annoys me. Chilwell is not quite adventurous. He doesn't like to pass the ball in field. He doesn't like to look for those midfield runners. And if he attempts to pass the ball midfield, he hesitates for a long time and Chelsea end up losing possession. But when you look at the right-hand side, what Gusto is doing is quite well. His link-up play with Cole Palmer is also quite impressive. He knows how to play those 1-2s with Cole Palmer making that ball forward and enabling Gusto to be making that overlapping run. So I can give a very huge credit for Gusto. He's been really good for the past 3 or 4 games. And he's actually been one of the best performers in the team. Petrovic cannot be blamed for the 2 goals. The first goal, I said, is Disasi created a lot of problems for the goalkeeper. First of all, he came out for the ball, then hesitated, then the goalkeeper could not get the ball, then it is 1-1. The second goal, it was just failing to close down Wissa, and this allowed him to have an incredible bicycle kick against Chelsea. So players that you can actually take some positives from players such as Gusto. Cole Palmer also was quite well. He had an assist yesterday. But in general, you cannot say that the team performed well. So If a team you cannot, and Gary Neville said that Chelsea is a £1 billion of bottle jobs, £1 billion. So it's like Todd Bowley and Clearlake spent £1 billion, and the team got worse. We had players who we used to complain about when we were finishing in the top four, players such as Marcos Alonso, Jorginho. People sometimes were even complaining about Antonio Rudiger, Kat Zuma. We had players such as Christian Pulisic, Mason Mount, Kai Havertz. The fans were really getting onto these players, Williams and Pedros. The fans were really getting onto these players. But these players managed to give Chelsea top four finishes, not top six, top four finishes. That was the level of this club. This club's level was top four finish. That was the bare minimum. Even if you don't win the league, at least you've secured the Champions League places. Chelsea nowadays, they are not a top four team. I think everybody has agreed on that. Currently, we have three strong teams that are guaranteed to finish in the top four. That is Manchester City, that is Liverpool, and that is Arsenal. Those are already three places that have been taken for the Champions League. Three Champions League places are already taken at this club. The fourth position is now being fought for by close to four teams. We have Spurs there, we have Manchester United there, we have Aston Villa there, we have teams such as West Ham there. So the league is becoming more and more competitive. But where is Chelsea? Where is Chelsea Football Club? That's our question. So the question that a lot of fans are asking is that we used to complain about top four finishes and actually wanted to challenge for the title. Chelsea had a proper foothold to create a structured plan to build from the Champions League victory. Okay, we know the Russian things came and went. We had the Roman Abramovich selling off the club to Clearlake Capital. But since the Todd Bowley led consortium that bought Chelsea, the structure of the club has really, really been destroyed. The soul of the club has been lost. And currently, the main target, the main focus for fans to attack is Mauricio Pochettino. And as I always say, it's Mauricio Pochettino is at fault. He holds a substantial reason to take fault for the abysmal state that Chelsea Football Club is in. Pochettino holds it. There's no debate about that. But now the question is Pochettino solely responsible for what is happening at the club? And that's why fans, especially away fans, when away fans turn against you, then it means that you've lost it. Away fans are usually the last to lose faith. They are away fans, because the away fans are the fans who travel to other stadiums to watch their team. They travel maybe to up the north to a place like St. James's Park, which is so far from London. They travel to go to Manchester. They travel to go to Liverpool. They travel to go to in those far places, in those far clubs. So when the away fans start chanting F Mauricio, F Mauricio, F Mauricio, it's becoming a toxic environment in the club. The environment at the club is so toxic, similar to the toxicity we saw during the Maurizio Sarri era. But funny thing with me is that the funny thing with the Chelsea fans is that Sarri had his first season and he was trying to implement a philosophy of football, which I believe that if Sarri would have had enough time at Chelsea, he would have actually created a footballing philosophy at Chelsea that could actually see Chelsea challenging for the titles. I don't know if Chelsea would have managed to win the title in the era of Manchester City and Liverpool during the Maurizio Sarri era, but that was a solid ground to build a foundation of a team that could have consistent performance week in, week out. A lot of people blamed Sarri Ball for being so rigid and he didn't want to change anything. But you see, with Sarri ball, we started to see their changes. We started to see that Chelsea are playing well from the back. We started to see the role of Jorginho, the role of the fullbacks, how players were moving to interchange and try to create situations on the pitch. But the problem that we started to see with Sarri ball is that we started to see some of the problems was not utilizing the width quite well, and sometimes the problem of Sarri of not changing his formation or changing his system in the game. Another manager that we have seen in the Premier League that has shocked people recently is Ange Postecoglou. See, Chelsea were in the run to get Ange Postecoglou, but they decided to get Pochettino. Generally, a lot of fans were not sure with Postecoglou. Some of them were like, who's Postecoglou? What does Postecoglou do? I don't know who this guy is. He's just won the treble with Celtic. So a lot of people were not so sure who Ange Postecoglou is. But currently, you can look at Tottenham. Tottenham last season finished 8th. Chelsea finished 12th. Tottenham finished 8th last season. But you can see there's a certain change in Tottenham. You can see the way they play has changed. The way they score goals has changed. The mentality of that team has also changed. Tottenham are not playing the way they used to play last season. Tottenham do not have the mentality they used to have last season. That's why I believe Tottenham will finish 4th. Aston Villa will not finish 4th. Tottenham will finish 4th. Because there is a way that Ange Postecoglou has brought in his ideas and the players have taken them in. Now, the question that we usually ask ourselves is, what does Mauricio Pochettino want to implement at Chelsea? That's usually the question. You don't know the tactical philosophy. You don't know how Chelsea are going to play. Are we building from the back? Are we going long? Like yesterday, I started to see Petrovic going long most of the time. So the question is, are we building from the back? Are we going long? You don't know. I don't even understand how Chelsea build from the back. I don't understand the patterns of play in the final third. Sometimes you are crossing the ball into the box. There's only one player. Sometimes you are making cutbacks. There's no player who's making late run in the box. You see, Pep Guardiola instills this at Manchester City. When the ball is in the final third, a lot of players need to commit themselves in the final third of the pitch so that they can put themselves in positions to score goals. But this is not usually the case at Chelsea. So Pochettino's system, philosophy, and tactics is not well understood by the fans. The fans don't know what to expect from Poch. They don't know what to expect from Poch with regards on how the team is going to play. You don't know which Chelsea is going to show up. Like now, a lot of fans have given up. They don't know. They have given up on the team. So now you can say that, okay, maybe the next game we were supposed to play was Arsenal. Maybe everybody just say, we are going to lose to Arsenal. We are going to get battered. You see? So what happens is that Pochettino has this thing on when the fans are so disappointed and have given up, he pulls up one performance and then all of a sudden the fans try to clap him. So let me read some comments here. So Pochettino is the wrong person to turn on. He's fully at fault because first of all, what I'm trying to say is you cannot see, we cannot just say that we are turning on to Pochettino. Yes, Pochettino is a victim of the circumstances, the shit that the ownership has put Chelsea into. Pochettino is just a victim. But again, this team is not so incompetent. It's not so poor that it can't even compete for the 7th position or the 6th position in the league table. Remember, we're not playing in weekdays. We're not playing during the week. Other teams are playing in the Champions League. Other teams are playing in the Conference League. Other teams are playing in the Europa League. And they are still performing better than us. Other teams have had worse injuries than us. And they're still finding ways to win. I don't expect Chelsea to go and on a winning streak. I don't expect Chelsea to go maybe and beat Manchester City or to go and beat Arsenal, to go and beat Liverpool, or even go and beat United or Spurs. But at least you beat the teams that you have to beat. At least you beat the teams that you have to beat. Beat the Forests, beat the Bournemouth, the Brentfords. The You can even say Newcastle is difficult or Brighton is difficult, but you can beat the other teams. You can beat the West Hams. You can beat the Lutons, the mediocre teams. The squad is not good enough for top four. It's not good enough for the top four, but I don't believe Caicedo. Yes, last season Caicedo was playing for Brighton and he was playing well. That's why Chelsea spent 115 million pounds for him. Caicedo was playing well last season. Enzo Fernandez was actually playing well for Benfica and Argentina. Enzo Fernandez is a World Cup winner. So that is not a bad midfield pairing. The problem with me is that, so where are my question usually goes to the signing of Mudryk. I don't understand how Mudryk was signed for 90 million. I don't understand the signing for Noni Madueke. I don't understand the signing for... We have a lot of 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds who have been bought for 30, 25 million. Kanich Komeka was signed for 38 million. The only positive signings that I can attribute in this Todd Boehly era is the signing of Petrovic. And Petrovic cost way less, something less than even 10 million. Even his wages are so low. So Petrovic, Cole Palmer, I don't understand. Honestly, I don't understand the signing of Nicholas Jackson. We should not be happy saying that we have a striker who knows how to link up play, who's physical, who knows how to make runs, but he's a striker who cannot score goals. You cannot spend a £1 billion and fail to build the spine of the team. Still, our best defender is the 39-year-old Thiago Silva. Disasi already showed you that he also has some defensive problems that he needs to address. Our key center back is a 39-year-old. In midfield, you can say that Enzo and Caicedo are well. But you see, Enzo and Caicedo cannot also play in a team that lacks a system to address their problems. Caicedo was just a sidekick to Pascal Gross. We can see that now if we look at Gross numbers from current and last season. But again, you cannot take away from Caicedo that he was a great player. Caicedo is a good player. I've even seen flashes of him at Chelsea. He's a good player. But you see, if the system is bad, if the overall team is bad, you can even take Rodri from Manchester City and put him into this midfield. And maybe you can see some slight improvement, but the performances will be still mediocre because, first of all, you don't have an attack that knows how to kill games. Jackson misses 7 chances and scores 1. He misses seven chances in a game. What type of football philosophy do you think Pochettino is trying to implement, and what type of football is better for the actual squad? Danilo, what I can say is that Pochettino is trying to implement positional play. Positional play has usually been his philosophy, and I've done a video on positional play. It's actually in my timeline. You can just click it and see. But positional play is one footballing philosophy that looks easy on paper, but it's very difficult to implement. That's why I think it's Guardiola who has implemented positional play to its perfection. Player managers such as Luis Enrique have also tried to do that. Thomas Tuchel has done that, but in a more pragmatic fashion, which is quite an understand. It's not quite well understood, and that's why some managers can have good ideas. This is one thing that I have noticed. Some managers may have good ideas, very brilliant tactics, but how they deliver those tactics to the players. How do you teach a player to play your philosophy? Like Pep Guardiola at Manchester City, it usually takes him 1 year to get the player onto his program. That's why players such as Jack Grealish actually did not play in their first season. We had players such as Calvin Phillips. He just can't play that system. Nunes is currently being eased in. We saw players such as John Stones also suffering in the first stint at Manchester City. So a concept such as positional play is not quite easily understood by players. So there are some managers who know how to relay their information so that players immediately buy into their system. Because, for example, everybody expected that Pochettino is doing maximum in his possibility. Not even Klopp or Guardiola could do with this anything with this Chelsea. No, 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 no. Pochettino is not doing the maximum. No. You see, by now, the team should already have a system they play with. The team should already have a system, a philosophy in which they play in. Remember, if a manager takes up a club, the time that you expect the team to be struggling is initially, and actually that is what was happening. Chelsea were really struggling. There's even a month where I think Chelsea did not manage to probably even score a goal in an entire month. And people are saying, oh, it's okay, let's give Pochettino time. It's the players who are taking in whatever he's teaching. But it's still close to the end of the season. We are just like around 3 months till the end of the season. But again, you can't see the philosophy. You can't know what we are playing. You can't know if we are playing possession-based football or pragmatic football. You see, these are the problems that we have. You cannot see what Pochettino is trying to do. Is the pressing well coordinated? Sometimes Gallagher is the one who's pressing, the entire team is not pressing. So you need to check and analyze those structures. That's why when Chelsea got a draw at Manchester City, and people say, and a journalist told Pep that Pochettino was happy with the performance of Chelsea, Pep was like, if the manager is happy with that performance, then congratulations to him. So Pep was taking a dig at him, like, how can you be happy with your team going 1-0 up, having a good performance in the first half, then in the second half, your team just goes ultra defensive, and they actually play so poorly, and then you come back and say that you're happy about that performance. Remember, Manchester City had the better XG than Chelsea in that game. Haaland did not just finish his chances. If Haaland finishes those chances, we would have lost that game at the Etihad. We were dominated 72% ball possession against 28%. So whatever is coming out is that this team is not playing well. You can't understand. Today they are playing a 4-2-3-1. Tomorrow they are playing a 4-3-3. Yesterday they played a 3-4-5, 3-5-2. So you can't really understand the philosophy of the game. Conor Gallagher, I think his stamina and his energy cannot be matched with other teammates. He has incredible energy. So you find that other players have a problem to come up with his pressing numbers. But again, that goes again to the laziness of the other players because you are an athlete. You see, Manchester City press from minute 0 to minute 90. Liverpool press from minute 0 to minute 90. Arsenal press from minute 0 to minute 90. It is how organized you press, not how intense you press, how organized is your press. If Kai Havertz is pushing forward to press, Martin Odegaard is covering the holding midfielder. When one centre back is on the ball, Havertz drops deep, Odegaard moves forward and pushes forward to press. So it's a piston kind of press where you need two players who understand how to press, who know how to use their cover shadows while pressing, and then you engage in the aggressive press. And then you also use your midfield to press and your fullbacks to go aggressively onto the opposition fullbacks. The main aim of pressing is denying the opponent time and space on the ball. But if you are pressing half-heartedly, if Gallagher is the one who's pressing and the entire team is slow to press, then a team can only play a simple pass and you're outdone. Now you are running backwards because your press has been broken with just one pass. One player was slow to press. But you see, these are not things that we should be seeing 6 months after Mauricio Pochettino has been appointed. If it was happening before, then we can say the players are learning something. But if it is happening now, then it is a problem because as a coach, you're supposed to say, excuse me, when we are pressing, you're not supposed to be lazy, walking, while other players are making runs and are applying pressure onto the opponents. If that is the case, then there's no point of you playing. there is the problems that we have. So Chelsea currently are 11th. We are just 1 point over local rivals Fulham. There is the problem. It seems like this season again, Chelsea are just going to finish 12th. And now the question needs to be asked, because I cannot say that this squad is poor. Remember, last season we finished 12th with the likes of Azpilicueta, Benjamin Mendy, Kepa Arrizabalaga, we had Kai Havertz, we had Mount, we had Kovacic, we had N'Golo Kante last season, and we finished 12th. Graham Potter was given almost 100 players to coach. You give a manager like Graham Potter 100 players. You sack Tuchel, you bring in Potter, you give Potter 5 years, you sack him. Now, the problem, the thing that the board and the entire recruitment team have is that they cannot balance their books. Sacking Pochettino will cost the club more. That's why the club are saying, let's retain him and hope that things change. Pochettino in himself, he has already seen how impossible this job is. That's why you're seeing him just, you can see like he doesn't look like he cares. He's just setting up his team. He's hoping if they listen, they play well. At the end of the day, if you sack him, you still pay him money. The fans are insulting him now. It's even making it worse, because if I'm a coach and the fans are insulting me in the ground, why should I put more effort to try and win anything or to win you over? I'll just let me do whatever I can. If you sack me, at the end of the day, if you sack me, you're going to pay me. So Pochettino is in the position of power as much as you cannot see, because that's why the players such as Conor Gallagher are in the transfer market. Chalobah is in the transfer list. Why? Because they are homegrown players. They are homegrown players. Yes, I understand it was not Potter's fault to be imposed 100 players to coach him. Yes, that's why I'm saying the problem is the hierarchy. And the two sporting directors need to be sacked. They need to take ownership for the mess they have created in the club, because you've spent £1 billion. Mudryk is so raw. I've said this. Mudryk is so raw. A lot of fans keep on calling for Mudryk to play. He has a very poor fast touch. Mudryk has a very poor fast touch. His fast touch is like that of Timo Werner. Extremely poor. He can't control the ball. Once you give him the ball, he loses it and he puts the team under pressure. Even if he played for Manchester City, Pep would have not been playing him. But Chelsea went ahead and splashed 90 million because Arsenal wanted to sign him. You see? So the club did not have any structure in the way they wanted to build. For example, do you want a defensive midfielder? Arsenal went ahead and bought Declan Rice, and Declan Rice is probably the reason why Arsenal are actually competing for the title again this season. Arsenal are strong defensively, extremely strong defensively. And they got Declan Rice for 105 million. Chelsea would have paid 100 million, and they would have gotten Declan Rice back then. If you play maybe Declan Rice with Caicedo, it's probably a good combination. Declan Rice and Enzo Fernandez is good. But again, here you have Caicedo, who's the one who's supposed to sit, and Caicedo is not quite good tackling. You've all seen the way Caicedo tackles, and it's not quite good. So the ownership, especially the recruitment team and the board, have a problem. Then we have a lot of 16-year-olds, people like Casadei, Santos, Angelo, Kani. There are a lot of youngsters who've been signed with close to around 250 to 300 million pounds. So how would you spend around 300 million pounds to players who cannot even make the first 11, not even the bench? But you just hear this player's been signed here, this player's been signed here, this player's been signed here, wonder kid from Brazil, wonder kid from Argentina, but you are not improving the team, because the only way you can improve the club is improving the performances on the pitch. Mudryk is a typical Russian school player. Poor technique, but fast. Yeah, Mudryk is extremely fast, extremely fast, but his fast touch is very raw. And Frank Lampard actually said this. He told Harry Redknapp this, that Mudryk is so fast. He's so fast. He can actually play in the Olympics, but his first touch is very poor. You see, Mudryk has that pace of Kylian Mbappe, but his ball knowledge is down. The way he controls the ball, the way if he had the dribbling ability of Kylian Mbappe and a good finishing, he would have been one of the most lethal wingers to come across because he's so fast. Modric will beat any defender in a foot race, even Kyle Walker. He will beat Kyle Walker in a foot race. But the problem is Modric is so raw. He's very, very raw. He's not ready. He's not worth the 80, 90 million that Chelsea paid for him. I don't understand how they went ahead and signed Nicholas Jackson. I don't still get it because Jackson is not a proven striker. He's not scoring goals. Noni Madueke. People say that Noni Madueke should be playing. I don't see what he does when he's on the pitch. He's not a player who you can bring from the bench and I say, oh, Madueke is coming in. Maybe we can win this game. You can't see. There's no player like that at Chelsea. There's no sub. Maybe Pulisic. Imagine Pulisic was better. It was a better substitution than Madueke. You could actually bring Pulisic on and say that, oh, maybe Pulisic can do something. And you see Pulisic has come up with a skill, has dribbled. See, the good thing about Pulisic was he was fast. The only problem with Pulisic is that he was so injury prone. But if he's fit, he was fast, and then he could take the ball and he could dribble. Now, we've even degraded Hazard's jersey. We have given the number 10 jersey to Modric. Look at the standards of this club. Yeah. It's true. It's not Modric's fault that somebody actually went ahead and paid close to 100 million euros for him. Yeah, it's true. It's true. Now, the club is in a financial crisis, and players such as Chalobah, players such as Conor Gallagher, even Colwill can be put in the transfer list in the summer. You know, a lot of people don't know this. Colwill can be put on the transfer list in the summer. Remember, homegrown players are 100% profits. Homegrown players are 100% profit. Gallagher will have to be sold because Chelsea are not getting Champions League football. That is a plan that they thought they would get this season. It's not going to happen. The Europa League, I don't think we are going to win the FA Cup. I don't think we are going to finish even in the 6th position in this fixture. So we are not going to play in the Europa League. The Conference League brings Chelsea losses than profits. So the only immediate source of profits will be Conor Gallagher to be sold for around 50 to 55 million. That's why he's being played a lot. Trevor Chalobah has also started to be played a lot. He needs to be sold for around 30 million or 25 million. I don't think we even have the capacity to sign a prolific striker in the summer. Maybe we get a manager, maybe like Jose Mourinho, who knows how to get the best out of Lukaku. Remember, we still have Lukaku in our books. So if you can get somebody like Jose Mourinho to come in and say, Lukaku, I will use Lukaku, and maybe, Jose Mourinho has a way to bring the best out of strikers. So if Jose Mourinho wants to play Lukaku, you can say, Lukaku, come back, I will see a way of putting you into this team, and we can actually try to win something here at Chelsea. That's the problem. So the question is Mauricio Pochettino done? I think he's done. The fans have really turned against the club's ownership. The chantings the away chantings are getting louder and louder. The insults are getting louder. Roman Abramovich's name keeps on getting sung at the games. Mourinho's name is getting sung. Thomas Tuchel's name is getting sung in the games. So it's becoming a toxic environment. And the day you'll see Chelsea playing a big team at the Bridge and Chelsea will be trailing 2-0 down at halftime is the day the club and the ownership will realize how toxic the fan base has gotten. There'll be all forms of insults, boos, chants that will be made at the home ground, at the stadium. And if Todd Boehly will be there, he will leave at halftime because the atmosphere is going to get extremely toxic at Stamford Bridge. It's going to get really, really ugly. What if Chelsea fans should stop coming to the bridge and force those clowns out from ownership? You see, once a football club has been bought, it cannot be sold after 10 until 10 years have elapsed. So Clearlake are actually here for the next 10 years. How many years? Which year did they sell the club? Around 2021 or 2022. So they have around 7 years remaining. It is close to 7 years. So the only time they can sell the club is probably around 2031, somewhere there. Yeah, 2031 or 2030. That is the earliest they can leave the club. They can't leave the club before 10 years have elapsed. That's usually a Premier League policy. So you can't change the ownership, but at least you can change the board. You can change the manager. How do you think the squad could create more dangerous situations? Positions, rotations, dribbling, crossing, short passing, counter attacks, and long balls. The first aspect of creating a successful team is that you need to create the mentality, the self-belief in the team. You need to create the self-belief in the team. The manager needs to walk into the dressing room with aura and command the dressing room. You know the way Jose Mourinho came to Chelsea back in 2004. He came here and told the players that we are actually going to win the league here, and on this date we are going to win the league. So this is what we are going to do. You need to be clear with the players, first of all. Second of all, you need to be making training less like a job, but more of something that the players like to do. You need to engrave these things. Things such as positioning, rotations, dribbling, and crossing. The way you improve these things, you improve them in a rondo. So everything other than shooting, free kicks, and set pieces can be done in a rondo. Things such as passing the ball, short passing. If you create 5v2 rondos amongst players, they're able to know how they're going to move the ball. And rondos enable players to do two things. Rondos teach players how to pass the ball and how to press, because those who are inside the rondo know how to use their cover shadows to cut passing channels. And those with the ball are looking for ways to make those penetrative passes. So if you engrave rondos to be done every day before training and after training, then aspects such as long passing, you do them as drills, and short passes. These are things that you can easily build. Counter attacks, you need a stopwatch in the training ground and you need to put in the timer. So I think these things, they usually do them at the ground. But what happens is that sometimes you just find that the time period is short. But Mauricio Pochettino does not play midweek. Potter used to play midweek, and Potter actually took Chelsea to the Champions League quarterfinals before Lampard came in and did the horse shit he did against Real Madrid. Potter was doing well in the Champions League. I don't know why Chelsea sacked him and he was in the Champions League. He should have just been left. He plays the Champions League. Then when Chelsea realized that Potter has been knocked out of the Champions League, that's when they had sacked him. I don't know why they brought in Frank Lampard. Lampard just came in to lose the remaining of the games. So pathetic, by the way, that signing. So positioning, these are things that you do on the pitch. Like positioning, if a fullback is overlapping a winger should cut inside. If a fullback is overlapping and a midfielder is making that progressive pass, then the winger should drop into midfield to cover for the midfielder. These rotations are things that you need to know. They are key pillars of positional play. But if you cannot see them at Chelsea, then you ask yourself what the manager is doing. Those are the questions that you need to ask yourself. So the ownership is solely to blame for the current mess at the club, because this is a mess. Somebody is saying then Chelsea is done as a club. Can't say that. We're still positive that maybe things can change. We're still positive that things can change, but there's nothing that we can say. We just hope that things might change. That's why I'm saying that, okay, if we sack Pochettino, who are we going to bring in as manager? So just give him till the end of the season. There's nothing that can be done. Just give Pochettino till the end of the season, then evaluate his position at the end of the season. Check what he has done in the FA Cup, the Carabao Cup, and the Premier League. If it is 12th, then there is no progress. Then let him sit down and explain what is wrong. He said he has a reputation of improving young players. Cole Palmer already improved himself when he came from Manchester City. I don't think I've seen anything else that has improved from him. So yes, that is what I wanted to say about Chelsea. Now I want to give a brief talk about the Manchester Derby. So the Manchester Derby is actually going. We are crazy, but our finishing was pathetic. Our finishing is pathetic because we went ahead and splashed 42 million on a striker who just scored 12 goals in close to 4 seasons in the La Liga. Not 4 seasons, or how many games? He scored 12 goals in 48 games in La Liga. Yeah, that's the problem of the board. They signed a failed striker. That's what they did. So those are the kind of things that we are having at Chelsea. So you don't understand at least if you've spent £1 billion and we have a centre back like Virgil van Dijk in the defense, we have a goalkeeper like Alisson. Petrovic is okay. We need an elite centre back at the back. Midfield is also strong, and then we have a striker. That's how you build a spine of the team. Like at Chelsea, you used to have Peter Cech, John Terry, Lampard, Drogba. Then you put everything around him. You put now people like Makelele, Obi Mikel, people. You had this guy. There's this guy who was playing for Chelsea. There's this defensive midfielder. Other than Obi Mikel, what's the other defensive midfielder? The one who usually actually used to play with Lampard and Ballack. The third midfielder who used to play with Lampard and Ballack. There was a defensive midfielder there, and it's not Makelele. I don't know what his name is. So we used to have a solid structure. So you have Peter Cech in goal, you have John Terry, you have Ashley Cole, you have Ivanovic, you have Carvalho. These are experienced players at the back line. You go to midfield, you have Lampard, you have Michael Ballack, we have Claude Makelele, we have Obi Mikel. There's this other player, there's this defensive midfielder. I don't know why I'm forgetting his name. It's this defensive midfielder who used to play for Chelsea, not N'Golo Kante. Then you had players such as Zanelka, you had Joe Cole, you had Didier up front. Initially, when Mourinho was there, you had Ian Robben playing also at Chelsea. So there was a blend of youth and experience in the team. Yeah, even physicality is quite weak. Like Levi Colwill is not strong to be a Chelsea centre back. Like for example, if you compare Liverpool's centre backs, those are centre backs who are so physical. See, a person like Konate and Van Dijk, that is a defender who you expect him to physically match any forward in Europe. Any forward in Europe. The forwards such as Giroud, Haaland, Ivan Toney. When you have centre backs, even Thiago Silva is not the most physical, but he knows how to deal with those traditional centre forwards. He knows how to deal with them. So you also need those centre backs, physical, extremely physical in the team. Players such as John Terry, physical players who are not afraid to do the dirty job. Ruben Diaz at Manchester City. Even the short guy at Manchester United, Lisandro, is also very physical. Extremely physical defender at Manchester United. Varane is also a good defender. Maguire, with all his mistakes, is also a very physically imposing defender. You'll see him play today against Haaland. At Arsenal, you have Gabriel. Gabriel and Saliba are also quite strong and physical. You can't say the same for Levi Colwill. You can't say the same for Colwill. And those are the kinds of questions that we are asking ourselves, and we are trying to look at: is this the best that we can have? So Manchester Derby. I was talking about the Manchester Derby. So the Manchester Derby is going to be played today. What do I expect in that game? Manchester City are so strong. John Stones will be around. De Bruyne is back. Haaland is back. It will be very, very difficult for Manchester United to try and contain that Manchester City's attack for 90 minutes. It will be a very, very uphill task. It will not be easy. It's not easy containing that Manchester City backline. You saw it when we played against them. But now the difference is when we played Manchester City, Akanji was the one who was coming in field. Now John Stones is available. And John Stones is very, very comfortable and very neat when playing in midfield again, together with Rodri. That's where Manchester United are going to lose this battle. The battle will be lost in midfield. Rodri together with John Stones, deadly combination. And then you give Foden and De Bruyne the license to attack the half space with Kyle Walker, De Bruyne, and Bernardo Silva attacking the half space. Foden holding the width down the right, Doku holding the width down the left, and Haaland up front. The inevitable is going to happen for Manchester United. It's just difficult to see how Manchester United go past this Manchester City side. It's extremely difficult to play against them at the Etihad. You will say it today. Actually, we were quite lucky when we faced Manchester City at the Etihad. Stones was not there. And actually, they took us by surprise. But now Manchester City understand that Manchester United are not a pushover. They have well prepared for this game. So what I expect is that it can even go up to 4-0 today. Manchester United can concede up to 4 goals today. That's how strong Manchester City are. It's a very strong team. Very, very strong team. And then another thing that you need to understand with Manchester City. Do you know that Manchester City has the highest squad average age? Manchester City has the highest squad average age. They have players in their prime. Walker is in his prime. De Bruyne is in his prime. Ederson is in his prime. Ruben Diaz is in his prime. Akanji, John Stones, Rodri, Bernardo Silva. Only players such as Foden, Haaland, and Doku, you can say they are young. But the entire structure of the team, that's why Haaland does not have the pressure to score goals, because Foden can score goals. Doku can score goals. De Bruyne is there, he can score goals. Bernardo Silva can score goals. Diaz can score goals. So there's that benefit of having experience in the team. So when you look at Manchester City, you can already see the experience in that lineup. Now, when you look at Chelsea, what do you see? You see Colwill, he likes to throw tantrums when he's on the pitch. Disasi, you don't know what you're going to expect from him. Chilwell, he's always passing the ball backwards. He cannot pass the ball forward. Gusto, you don't know. He can play well. He can look well. Chelsea are a mess because they lack a strong spine. True. That's the fault of the ownership. The ownership actually decided to have that. By then, if you look at Spurs, Van Daven and Romero are good. Is a good centre back partnership. Van Daven is quite quick. By there, he's one of the fastest defenders in the league, because the manager wanted to play with the high line. So he asked the club, I need a centre back who can actually cover that space in behind. There goes Van Daven. Van Daven is very, very good covering those spaces in the back. You can laugh at Spurs, but you see, with the Spurs, they play with the high line. They play with the high line throughout the game. They play with the high line. Now, it's up to you to exploit that line, but how do you able to play those balls behind them if they will press you and you lose the ball quickly? The thing with the center mids that I have to say is that Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez, I don't think they're bad players. It's just that they're young players, but I see the potential. I have never doubted those two players, but we have never seen by there Romeo Lavia play. I've not seen Romeo Lavia play. I've never seen Lavia playing, by the way. Lavia came, played one game, went back injured. It's close to a season who's injured. Wesley Fofana. Oh, we have a centre back called Wesley Fofana. Ooh, wow. Where is he? Where is Fofana? Where is Wesley Fofana? Fofana is just injured. Actually, Fofana was the one who was supposed to come and cover for Thiago Silva. Now, he has had a lot of knee injuries. I don't know even if he has the pace that he used to have. Fofana used to be a beast at Leicester. I still don't know if Fofana has that strength that he usually has. We are wide at times. The reason why Tottenham Hotspur are wide at times is because you are slow to cover your pressing. That's the reason why you are wide sometimes. You are slow to effect your press. Manchester City play with a very high line. Liverpool play with a very high line. It is how you intensely you press. If you decide to move with a team high up the pitch to press, then everybody is putting in pressure. Everybody is putting in pressure on his player. Then the opponent will just be forced to go along and you recover the ball immediately. That's the problem with Spurs. Sometimes you want to press Richarlison is walking. That's where you have your problem. And that's the problem that Chelsea faced against Liverpool. They played with a high line and they were not pressing. So Chelsea was sitting in a mid-high line, but they are not pressing. So Liverpool centre backs are having times to pick those balls behind the lines because nobody is putting pressure on them. But when you are playing aggressively with the high line, what you should do is that you should ensure that you push your entire line forward. Then you put pressure on every player who has the ball, especially players who are competent with the ball. If you have a goalkeeper like Ederson, you don't allow him time and space on the ball when you're pressing Manchester City. You deny Ederson that chance. You deny Ruben Diaz that chance. You give Akanji the ball. Akanji is not going to play the ball forward. He's just going to play a short pass. You allow him to have the ball. You allow Kyle Walker to have the ball. But you can't allow De Bruyne to have the ball. You can't give De Bruyne the ball and then you give him space. You fail to close De Bruyne. You're going to get punished. There are players you just don't give the ball and you look at them. You have to put pressure on them. So there is where we are. So Manchester United just need to be very solid, very compact, and they should be ruthless in transition. And I repeat again, Manchester United need to be ruthless in transition. Ruthless. They need to be so swift, progressing from defending to attacking. Very swift, very quick, very ruthless. So that is my take on yesterday's game and situation at Chelsea. And I really appreciate everybody who has joined the stream to watch. And thank you for joining us. And I would really like to share the link next time so that somebody can come in and have their own opinions on the game. So thank you for watching this stream and see you again.